Hello, hello, hello. It is ALLVERSE Thursday. It is 3:25:21, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you know what it means. It means it's ALLVERSE Thursdays. It's my favorite day of the week, my favorite show. One of the things I really love to do. I'm excited, always excited about ALLVERSE Thursdays. Welcome to the show. As you're logged in, thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Mark Christmas. I'm excited to be here with you tonight. ALLVERSE Thursdays. It's presented by the NIA Center, right? The NIA Center is a ethical interfaith center, which recognizes all traditions and around social justice and empowerment, right? And we look to educate, engage, and empower people around the word intent and purpose is what NIA means. NIA means intent and purpose. And so that's what it's about, right? And that's what all our programs look to do, is to really touch, to move, to inspire you around purpose. And so ALLVERSE Thursdays is one of our programs in addition to Sacred Space Sunday. But tonight, let's talk about ALLVERSE Thursdays. ALLVERSE Thursdays is a very unique show. It's the only place where you get really dope artists. And when I say artists, yes, they're poets, they're spoken word artists, but not limited to that. Storytellers, authors, movie producers, music producers. We've had a whole host of art, because if you think about the role that art has played, right, of really sharing verse, it goes back centuries. When you had clans or tribes, you had a person that had a role in that civilization that was responsible for sharing history or sharing the ancient texts, right? I know Ramadan is coming in a couple of weeks. We think about the Quran. When it was recited, it's poetic. And so verse has really been used to pass down history, information for ages, right? And so we're just continuing with using verse here to continue to do the same thing. And so we bring artists from all over the country and even different places of the world from time to time to do just that. So they come here, we share their artistry, and we have some really stimulating conversation around their journey with their purpose, right? So welcome to ALLVERSE Thursday. Let me tell you a little bit. If you're on Facebook, then thank you. Please be active in the chat. Share the broadcast with your page. Don't start a watch party, just share it. Welcome comments. We welcome and look forward to comments. We'll acknowledge them and recognize them as we go. If you haven't followed us on Twitch, switch over to Twitch. We say switch to Twitch. And why switch to Twitch? Well, it's a place where you can have a lot of fun. So it's another social media outlet. It allows you to, follow, whether it be talk shows or podcasts, DJs, gamers, if you're into that, to follow those persons. And so you get notifications when they have events. You can actually subscribe to their channels. When you subscribe to their channels, you get some other things it unlocks, like funny emotes and funky emotes that you can use for your comments and things. And so Twitch is really a fun place. It really allows us to kind of take off some of the barriers that some of the other social media platforms have. However, wherever you are, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Wherever you are, thank you for joining us. I'm really excited about tonight's show for a number of reasons. The guest, we've been talking for a few months and about this date and getting her tonight. So she's up to really big things. And so I can't wait to bring her on in a minute. But, I also just want to take a minute to acknowledge the things that are happening in the U.S., right? And I would be remiss if I just didn't give space. Many may be familiar with some of the tragedies that have happened in terms of the mass shootings in Colorado, in Atlanta the week before, the whole the awareness being brought to the Asian hate, and just the discrepancy and disparities that are happening to the minorities in this country continue. And so I just want to take a minute to acknowledge that, this isn't a political show. However, we never know what we might talk about. And so, the reason I bring it up is because I think that in just honor of them, if you could just put wherever you're in, if you could put a heart in the chat, right? A heart in the chat, sending love to those that have been impacted by the different tragedies that have happened across America these last few weeks. Just put a heart in the chat, whether you're on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, it doesn't matter. put a heart in the chat, and just in solidarity and support of recognizing the things that people are going through right now, right? So, yeah, it's March is just like taking off. It's almost the end of March. So, tomorrow is actually my daughter's birthday. And Madison, shout out to Madison and Christmas. Thank you, Nia Center for the Hearts, right? Thank you, Kenny's TV. We see you there. Appreciate you being on. Madison and Christmas, and she'll be 20. And so I talked to her briefly today, and I think I'm more excited about her birthday than she is. She's one of those cool teenagers. I'm I haven't really thought much about it. I'm like, okay. But what it reminded me of is that when she was a little girl, and it seemed like that was just a couple of years ago, when she was a baby, I would read to her at night. And we had a little routine, and I would tell her, say, I love you. There's nothing you can do to have me to not love you, right? You can always talk to me about anything. And we had this little thing called I love you as much, right? And we would go through different examples that we could come up with I love you as much. So I want to open tonight's show with a piece that I wrote called I love you as much. I love you as much. I love you as much as night is dark, as much as kids love to play in the park, as much as winter is cold, as much as flowers in the spring unfold, as much as circles go around, as much as noise is sound, as much as praises go up, and as much as blessings come down. As much as no means not, as much as stains leave spots, as much as lava is molten, as much as metals are golden, as much as sugar is sweet, as much as fish is meat, as much as birds as blind can't see, as much as God loves me, as much as I need air to breathe, as much as water is wet, as much as the heavens are high, as much as the stars in the sky, as much as God is love, let me be loved too. I love you as much. So a scripture that comes to me with that is in Jeremiah 29, verse 11. It says, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an unexpected end. That's what God thinks. And so when opening in prayer, I'll say, Lord, I'm your child, whom you love dearly. I mean, you loved me since before I was born. I feel like your love has continued to go stronger and stronger over time. Your love for me beats so strong that it feels like it became my heartbeat. A love that yearns for my presence and sometimes sheds tears when I'm astray. Please forgive me, Lord. I never knew I could be loved like this, but I now do. Because of you, my life is much more fulfilled, and my purpose is much more complete. You make sure I always know, feel, and believe that you love me. No thing or no one can ever change that. I thank you for your love, and I love you. Let me always remember that you love me. Amen, and so it is. So ALLVERSE Thursday, ALLVERSE Thursday. Welcome, Noreen. Good to see you. Welcome. So yeah, I am excited about tonight. It's the theme for you'll find out for me is about love, right? I appreciate being loved. I'm in a place where I recognize it was a time when I wanted to dictate how I would receive love, how people could love on me, right? And so I look to generously receive it and give it. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. Now, speaking of love, I got a lovely artist tonight. Super talented. Then let me tell you just a little bit about this phenomenal woman, right? Just a little bit about. So she's an educator. She teaches kindergarten. She's a poet. She's an author. She really travels the world to spread the beauty of art, knowledge, literacy, and visualization, right? Now, she comes from a lot of places. So I don't know what she claims. She started in California, moved to Arkansas, relocated to Texas, went to school in Atlanta. She's a graduate of Clark Atlanta University. Shout out to Clark Atlanta University with a degree in communications. Now, when she was in college, she took a year to travel to different states and perform poetry, right? To develop the gift she needs to make a career of speaking and writing. And one of her journeys after college included winning, check this out, winning first place at the Apollo Theater, y'all. Now, if you've never been to the Apollo Theater, I know you've at least heard of it or seen the show, right? The Apollo is the mecca for I would say Black artists, absolutely, because that's the first place where we can perform. But it's a mecca for artists, right? You want to be able to come through the Apollo. And so not only did she come through, she came through and showed up and showed out, right? Winning first place. And we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. She's also performed in other festivals around the country. This poem festival in Portland, in Jamaica. Look, now I have to look at my notes on this. She is an artist of residency in France. She starts that coming up soon at the Chateau, Orquevaux. And if I said it wrong when you come on, when I introduce her, as a matter of fact, let me just bring her on right now. Bring to the screen the lovely, the talented Sabreen Sudan-Jolley. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm super excited about tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super excited too. So please say the name correctly. My French is a little rusty.
Chateau Orquevaux. I had it twisted too, so it's no worries.
I always like the way French sounds. I was like, ooh, that sounds really good. But I took Spanish and I thought it was going to be easier when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But then I didn't end up still not being able to speak that either. So after 3 years of taking it, I never practiced it. So do you speak French?
I don't. I actually took French in high school. I took it in college, but I was never able to speak it fluently. And so I'm practicing now so that I could at least, hold a conversation. So I know a lot of phrases and, I could make out a lot of things. But as far as speaking it fluently, nah.
He said, ooh la la. Yeah, that's funny, Kenny. That's funny, ooh la la. So before we jump into the interview, share a piece with us. You got a piece for us?
I do.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Hey, Mother Shange, do you remember the whisper? Soft and subtle, quiet even, but loud enough for me to hear you say, I used to live in the world, really be in the world, free and sweet talking, good morning and thank you and nice day. I can't no more. I can't be nice to nobody. Nice is such a rip-off. Regular beauty and a smile in the street is such a setup. And as I reflected on your earnest reminder dedicated to colored girls like me who have considered suicide when the rainbow was enough, I was reminded to live, to thrive even, and boldly and loudly enough to remind myself and others that this temple ain't free. Why would it be? After all, it has been drenched in drudgery, backstroking in a sea of confused phalluses that have lost their way amidst the waves and somehow settled on the shores of my preciousness. Do you really believe that this temple comes without cause? Hey, Mother Shange, thank you for awakening my old self-worth. Mother, I forgot that the rainbow only appears after the rain, and no matter how desolate lands become because of it, I will dance in it. Because I know that soon after it will reveal my beautiful story in red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Oh, this temple ain't free. It is the giver of life, the home of land dwellers, the reason for war, the cause of peace. It holds secrets. Big, fat, black, and strong secrets, and even the not-so-good secrets. It turns genital mucus into presidents and mayors and artists. Hell no, this shit ain't free. You got to work for it. After a long day's work, this temple needs a cocktail and a cigarette. Because sometimes she gets stressed. She forgot who she was. But now she knows who she is. She went from mopping the floors to owning the biz, to employing the world. She's the giver and the taker, the potter and the wheel, the hells and the heavens. She only runs on 93. Fuck 87. This ain't Chevy unleaded. This is premium. This is Ferrari temple. It writes your checks. It cooks your meals. It puts life in your body. I'm sorry if I sent the wrong message, but Mother Intozaki Shange, thank you for your message. It was a soft and subtle, yet bold and loud reminder that the permission of this temple doesn't come without toil. And that's that piece.
I love that. Wow. What is that piece called?
Actually, I had to modify it a little bit. Do you mind if I actually?
Look, this is an adult show. You can.
Okay, good.
We don't have to censor anything.
I was giving y'all the PG version.
we'll get the adult version next time, right?
Okay, noted. It's actually called This Pussy Ain't Free, but it's not talking about that. Usually when people hear it, that title, they automatically say, you know, that it's about something sexual, and it has nothing to do with sexuality or anything, and everything to do with loving yourself. And actually, believe it or not, my mom was the inspiration for that piece for a number of reasons. And so, yeah.
That Mother Changi that you referenced in the poem?
Come again?
Is that the mother that you referenced in the poem? Is that your mother?
No, I'm actually talking about Ntozake Shange. So I was reading the book for colored girls one day, and there was a piece in there that just really resonated with me, where she was talking. It was in the beginning where she was talking about just herself and how it's difficult for her to be nice sometimes because she feels like she has to put up this defense all the time. And I think about all the women who felt that way, and I thought about my mother. And so that is kind of the premise of that whole piece. And so, yeah.
You know, you touched on a lot of topics. We're going to have a really exciting conversation. Shout out, Dana. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you checking in. The Nia Center is love that piece, right? This is some of the emotes I was talking about. So before we get into some of the topics that we want to talk about, I just want to just give the audience a chance to connect with you. So I told them about your background a little bit. You've had a really celebrated experience in life at such a young age. And it seems to have really stepped powerfully into that. How did that come about?
As far as poetry is concerned,
art, or just like going out using your voice. I mean, like, how did you start connecting those two?
Well, actually, it's so funny. My grandfather was the former NAACP president for the Altadena, California branch, and I would be the granddaughter that would always go to the conventions with them. And there's a program called AXO. And if you know anything about AXO, in short, it's a cohort of musicians and scientists and people from all different disciplines who come together for this big competition. And they're just it's just like a big group of talented individuals. And so I was about 5 or 6, and I would always be around this jazz band, and I fell in love with jazz at a very young age. And so from there, I remember being in a van with them, and we were at, Hitsville, USA in Detroit. And a song came on by Erykah Badu called Other Side of the Game. And I was like, I could do that. And so from there, I started writing, and I swore I was a rapper, but it wasn't working in that way. And so eventually I started to write, and the cadence of how I would say it was much different than rap. And so it became poetry. And I didn't even know it was poetry. And
now, how old are you at this time?
At this time where I'm actually like really getting into it, I would say about between 9 and 13. And that was, it kind of escalated from there. I laid low from it. I always knew I wanted to be a writer, and more so with children's books and novels. But I knew that poetry would be integrated in that. And the first time I really performed was in high school. I used to be a co-host for a radio station in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they would have me do poetry at the top of the hour. I would do it at my church. And I remember my coach, she said, "You are a great speaker, and I would love for you to do an oratorical." Didn't know what an oratorical was. I just knew I liked to talk. I ended up ranking the highest in that region. And so that was cool. And from there, I kept it up. I stopped for a minute, not because I didn't want to do it, but because life happened. And at the time where I should have been doing it, the most, I was doing it the least.
Mm.
And I don't know, some revelation happened in me. And from there, it's been kind of up. And now here I am at another point in my life where I'm feeling like I'm just ready to breathe for a minute and redirect myself as a poet and a writer. And so, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you picked up the pen and you followed that divine guidance, right? And you listen to it, or whatever you choose to call it. That's what I choose to call it. And just from the first piece and the energy. I mean, even before you speak, like your energy, your physical energy. When you speak, you hear it. Like everything seems to really come from the soul, from the heart. And so I appreciate that. And I think it's really wonderful to be in touch, be able to be in touch with that at any point in your life, but particularly early on. And so then you went to college, right? And you majored in communications and you became a teacher. When did you write your first children's book?
Well, actually, I'm working on that now. If you could, I can't like get up and show you, but I have like a whole wall full of like sticky notes. And that's something that I'm interested in. And it was so funny how everything connected, because I was one of those, and I still am to an extent, one of those people who likes to wait and have everything figured out. But that's something that I've always wanted to do. So I decided to take a chance on myself. And it's actually, I don't want to self-publish this book. I actually want to go through a company. And so if you know anything about going through traditional publishing, you have to query, you have to get agented and all this different type of stuff. So that's where I'm at now. But I never thought that I would end up teaching the same audience that I'm trying to reach. And it's so funny how things connect. And so that's where I am now. And I'm excited about releasing it because the storyline is pretty cool.
That's exciting. I love the fact that you talk about, and it's not your first book, and what the audience would let to clarify. She did write a book already. And you wrote that in college, right?
Right, my senior year, actually.
Yeah. So this is her first children's book, right?
Yeah.
First children's book. But she's been writing, as you heard, for a very long time. Now, you said a couple of things that just stood out to me. The one around you used the word procrastinate, right? And it is my belief, and I didn't make it up. I heard it somewhere, right? And I adopted it. That there's 3 reasons that people don't succeed, right? 3 primary reasons. The first is lack of clarity. Just not clear, right? And so if you're not clear, it's kind of like just getting in the car, driving from Arkansas to Pasadena, but you never drove before and you didn't put it in GPS, right? Like you might get there, who knows how long it may take you, right?
Right.
So lack of clarity. The next is striving for perfection, right? Like it's got to be perfect versus just being willing to jump in, take the action, right? Learn from taking the action, take more action, learn from that and keep going, right? And then the last is procrastination, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So and so like being able to acknowledge that is the start without judgment, right? It doesn't make you a good person or a bad person. Right. Just okay, this is where I am. Now, what if I want to be somewhere different and that's in the way, what do I do to have that be different? So
right.
It sounds like you figured it out, you picked it up and you jumped into it, right? The other beautiful thing that I thought you shared about right to the audience that you've chosen to focus on in this next project with the children's book. How powerful is that if the other kids can get a project or a tool that gives them that clarity, the willingness to experience themselves authentically and be that, right, without judgment. It's just, that's phenomenal. If you think about if every kid got that, like how would the world be, right?
Definitely, most definitely. And actually working with them, you would think that, the teacher is the one that's doing the inspiring. Honestly, I'm being inspired in this. And I'm learning a lot of areas of myself that need to be developed in a lot of ways. But they are making my path so much clearer and in a way that I never would have suspected. Immediately after graduation, I hit the ground running. I was doing nothing but selling books and doing poetry. And that was a definite Whew, it took a lot out of me because I had no plan, right? I just knew my plan was to be a writer. That was it. It was no strategy behind it. So I wouldn't say it wasn't a plan. It was no strategy behind it. And coming straight out of school, that could be very, especially with the 4 years of all the stuff you deal with in school. So coming out of that is very difficult. And so I had a lot of opportunities, but this not only gave me the opportunity to create a foundation for myself so that I could push myself in a direction that that really propels me into where I'm supposed to be. But I didn't know how God was placing me in this position to show me my path, right? And so I'm honestly proud of myself, and it feels good to say that because for so long I didn't tell myself that. I wasn't hearing that. It was kind of like, oh, Sabreen's got it. You know what I mean? I've always been that student or that person where it's like, oh, Sabreen's got it. Oh, girl, you got it. You don't, even down to my oratorical. I remember it was my first time. I didn't have any help at all. And I felt so alone, but I didn't realize it wasn't that you were alone. It's just that people sometimes see the promise in you that you don't even see in yourself. And so,
clip that, y'all. Clip that. That means on Twitch, they like a thing that clip 30 seconds and they can share that clip. That's powerful right there. Go ahead. Finish your statement. Yeah.
So I didn't realize that. So for a long time, I thought I was unsupported, but it wasn't that. It's just that sometimes it's funny, like, you know, some people have to practice for certain things and some people just got it. I was one of those people who just had it. And so now I'm at this age, I'm learning to perfect it. And I think that's the little hazy spot that I'm in now, developing it. So yeah, you got it, but now it's time to develop it. And so I've been kind of trying to lay low and go into my shell and really dig deep, you know, so.
Well, that beautiful story. And that's the clip, that icon on the Twitch. That's me with the headphones saying clip that. You saying so many jewels. So let's do this, right? Because there's many things that you've touched on that get to be revisited. Let's give them another piece, right? And you know, like I said, this is a free censored show. So whatever you're feeling, let's give them a little bit more experience of Sabreen and her artistry.
All right. This next piece is called Soul Food, and I wrote it actually. There was a relationship that I had experienced. It was like no other. It was the first time that I actually felt like I experienced somebody with who had a kindred spirit and really showed me a lot of the things that I want in not only a partner romantically, but just on a friendship level. And so it's called Soul Food, and it goes like, when the world is at war and no one seems to understand you, can I be your peace? Can I be the one you run to when you feel weak and your limbs can no longer carry the load of this world? May you saturate your mind and allow our thoughts to flow fluidly as if they couldn't exist without each other. As if your mind was hydrogen and mine was oxygen, and together we'd flow like the river of Jordan, so easily, so naturally. After societal constructs have tried to destruct who you truly are and construct a decoy, can I be the one that reminds you that there's nothing like the real thing, baby? Can I be the sugar in your rice, the tea bag in your heated water, the cornbread to your neck bones? Together we mesh so perfectly as my lips connect to your neck bone, my backbone, collarbone, knee bone, thuggish, ruggish bone slips at the thought of being the place you call home. Is it all right if I'm the brown sugar to your candied yams, the pot liquor to your greens, the finger licks after you ate something greasy, that recipe that makes life easy, that crispy corner in a pan of peach cobbler that everybody wants? Better yet, Let me be the scoop of vanilla ice cream on top, the beat to your box, the wet to your rock. You'd be Tupac, I'd scream, fuck the cops, the pop to your lock, the block when it's hot, the clip in your Glock, the book that teaches you why they don't want world hunger to stop. We be revolutions, baby, revolving around each other like galaxies, just being the constant in the hearts, the continuity when everything is unbalanced. Can I be the lean to your rock, the ooh to your eye, the G to your shock, the flip to your flop, the hip to your hop, the tip to your top, hail, the come from your kingdom. Because something about this situation is imperial. And no matter in what way, shape, or form, I just want us to go hand in hand like collard greens and candied yams, green eggs and ham, Wonder Bread and Spam, Gina and Pam, tax returns and Uncle Sam, Mary and her little lamb, white folks and tans, anywhere I am. I just want you there next to me. Your presence is a present, and I just want to be the gift. And if the universe will have it that way and we find out that it's all meant to be, I'll find myself asking you once more. When the world is at war and no one seems to understand you, can I be your peace? Can I be the one you run to when you feel weak and your limbs can no longer carry the load of this world? May you saturate your mind and mine and allow our thoughts to flow fluidly as if they couldn't exist without each other. As if your mind was hydrogen and mine was oxygen, and together we'd flow like the river of Jordan, so easily. So naturally. And that's that piece, y'all. Soul food.
I
appreciate it.
Yes, wonderful. Where do you get your cadence from? I mean, I have several questions, but that just like stands out to me that your cadence is special.
You know what's so funny? I met this poet, I guess you could call a poet.
Damn.
He was like a consultant, and I was asking him. Well, he came up to me and he was talking about formatting my poetry and what format. And I'm like, format? I just write whatever comes to my mind, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that people were writing in like a actual like as if it were like a novel, for example, MLA format. And I said, you know what? I think I want to write like that now. So I don't know where it comes from. It just comes. It just,
yeah, I mean the alliteration, right? The wordplay, like you did when you did the cop to your. I messed it up, right? But that wasn't the word you said, but that's probably what a lot of people thought she was getting ready to say. Right, and yeah, I told you it's an unfiltered show. It's really special. I was like the way that you delivered it, on top of the words that actually were that made it up. Really a great combination. Thank you for sharing that. That's that piece, y'all. Absolutely. Mia Sinner says, "Damn, that was hot." Yes, it was. So many things, right? You won the Apollo. Tell us a little bit about this for those of us who don't know. What is an artist residency and how did you get it?
So I actually applied for it and they select a few people. It is something that you have to invest your money into, but it's an opportunity for artists to get away for a select amount of time and just create. So we're given these rooms, like for instance, if you're a painter, I'm actually bringing a friend of mine named Kaway. He's gonna be there, and he's an illustrator. Isn't that crazy? He'll be there as well, and we'll be given these rooms where we have the space to create, and it's so necessary, and it's something that I really wanted to do. Not only did I think that it would elevate me as an artist, but it'll really help me to develop my outside of just the whole visual of it. Oh, you're doing this, that, and the third, but really helping me to cultivate my gifts, because a lot of times you get so caught up in life, like with me, between teaching, between doing the poetry videos and traveling and all these different types, and just getting my own mental health together. It can be a lot to try to balance it all. And so having that time away to just create is so necessary. And I remember praying, I'm like, Lord, please, I need 1 year to not do anything for real. Like, I don't want to do anything, think about anything, and whatever creatively comes to me, that's what happens. And I want to use I want another year to just go hard, just back to back. And you know, me, I end up doing stuff anyway. So
they say, "Ask and you shall receive," right? Seek
right,
and you
but
shall
you know
find.
what's crazy though? And I'm not saying I'm the cause of it.
or stop. Let me just interrupt you. I do want you to own that piece, just like you own all this other stuff. You are the cause. Your words speak life. In the beginning was the word, right? That's how it starts.
There it is.
Right?
But this situation, I feel that on a whole, the deep level. But I promise you, around March, I said, God, please. I said, I need a break. I said, I've been like running on fumes, doing all this stuff. Even now, sometimes I'm like, I feel exhausted mentally. And I need that break. And I just need a year off. Tell me why the corona happened 2 weeks later. And I'm like, it was a negative thing that happened, but it was also, for me, it was a blessing in disguise, because it gave me just not the type of time that I wanted, but just enough time to just kind of rethink some things. And so now my vision is a little bit clearer. And so now I have a little bit more, I guess, clarity on exactly what direction I want to take my poetry. And I didn't want to just be an open mic poet. I wanted to really expand this in a way that just revolutionizes poetry in a way that it never has before.
So y'all seeing what future poet laureate right here first on ALLVERSE Thursdays.
Let me receive
ALLVERSE Thursdays, right? The place where we bring dope artistry together, like Sabreen, right, to share their artistry and share about her journey in her life. And I mean, you've heard it here first. Yeah, and I'm not making it up. I'm not saying it because it sounds good. It came to my heart to say it. And when you do get that laureate, we're gonna have you back on the show as well. The show, right? So you mentioned a lot of things that I think, and so congratulations on the residency, and it starts this summer.
It does, but it's some things going on. It actually was supposed to start a year ago, but the pandemic stopped it, right? And so this year it may be some difficulties with that too. So we're trying to work it out, but it's still kind of up in the air. But yeah.
That's a great honor, and I know based on my experience that you're going to make the most of it, right?
Oh yeah,
you're going to make the most of it. You know, one of our comments says Corona did it for a lot of people. No shame in finding the light in the darkness. Absolutely, thank you, Nia Center, for sharing that. Absolutely, I know that's the same for me, right? And so, and you know, you talked about mental health, mental wellness, that you needed to recharge, right? You needed a break. You needed to, like you said, you felt like you were exhausted. In the first poem you shared about thoughts of suicide that the young girl was considering, right? And so I want to just talk a little bit about mental health, because that's where I'm being led, right?
Okay.
And so it's not often that we find people that look like us that freely talk about mental health, right? For a number of reasons, right? No judgment on it. For a number of reasons, you know.
Right.
When I grew up, my house and most of my friends' house, they didn't talk about money, romance, or finance, right?
Right.
Not even to some of the people in the house, or let alone outside the house. And so the whole concept of mental health is starting to get a lot of exposure now. I'm a holistic wellness practitioner. I'm a Reiki master.
Okay.
And so I've been to counseling several times, right? I'm a fan of it. You got to find the right one, just like in a relationship. So you got to find the right one. It doesn't mean because something didn't work out here that those things just don't work out, period, right? It's about finding the right one, putting in the work to do that, right? And so mental health is something that's really important to me. And I've been doing distance Reiki sessions with clients since the pandemic, right? And that's something I wasn't doing prior to the pandemic because I didn't, in my mind, have the time or the space for it, right? So here we go, I do. And then I've also been teaching people how to help to heal themselves mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so I've attuned probably about 30 people into Reiki level 1, and then several others in the Reiki level 2, and a couple of Reiki masters. So it's been very present for me, right? And I remember feeling in this time, you know, many times in my life, I just can't take it anymore. So why is mental health so present for you?
I feel like artists are always on this emotional roller coaster. We always have our feelings on our sleeve. We're literally giving our hearts to the world, and so it's important to detox from that sometimes. I know, especially for me, I kind of got it from my I guess I would say my mom, honestly, where it's, no matter what it is that I'm going through, I continue to keep moving. I just kind of brush it off and keep it pushing. And I realize that, you know, for sometimes that could be a valuable thing. It can be, but I feel like when it's not balanced in the right way, it could be something that's detrimental. And I've seen it take a toll on my family members' health, and all of those different types of areas, and happiness. And I think that should be at the forefront of everything. And I noticed it started to do that for me. And so I would wonder, why is it that I could sleep a whole day and still feel tired? It wasn't that my body was physically tired. I feel like my spirit was tired because I hadn't allowed myself to feel and like really purge those emotions or get through certain emotions before I went on into the next venture. And so during that pandemic, I lost one of the closest people to me, my grandmother, and I definitely was able to get through that and all that, but I just kept moving and going, and I'm like, wow, am I giving myself adequate time to really process everything that's happening? And I didn't feel that. And so I feel like as going into this next chapter of my life, going into these next levels of writing and speaking and poetry, it is like imperative for me to take time for myself. And it's okay to do that, because I've gotten, like I said, from my family, I've gotten into that mindset where it's kind of like, you got to keep going. You just gotta keep working and pushing through it, and no rest. And I think that is the biggest myth ever. Rest is one of the most essential parts of life. And we in this European or Eurocentric society, this Western civilization, have that idea that more work means progression, and it doesn't always mean that. Sometimes resting could be the very thing that propels you, because I've had times where I've rested and I got up and I felt more productive. I'm just writing, things are just flowing, the words are coming, and I don't have to think about it. So I definitely feel that our mental health is very important. And of course, we could go deep, but I know we don't have that type of time. But
you speaking my language. You see one of the comments was like, preach, sister, yeah. To your point though, right? And you know, I'm familiar with Black women because that's where I was raised. That's the culture I grew up in. So it may not be unique to Black women, but I definitely know Black women. My mother, her mother's generation. You know, my wife often says comments like, "Don't matter what happened, get up, put your makeup on, put your big girl panties on. They don't, you know what I'm saying? Put your makeup on and go to work, right?" And they've carried so much. And didn't have outlets to share it. You know, we were taught to guard these emotions, right? And so, you know, and I tell people this in my Reiki healing, is that imagine if you bumped your head as a kid. You know, you get a lump there, and that's because the body says, "Hey, you know, we got to protect that area." So it puts a fortress around it, right? We're not letting nothing in or out, right? Nothing going in or out, and so it starts to swell. Now, eventually, your mama or somebody get you ice pack or some cold peas or something to reduce that inflammation, because actually the body only works at its optimum if the stuff is flowing through it. Now imagine if that bump on your head happened at 4 years old, and you're at your age now, and it never went away. All the problems so what happens with emotions, our heart becomes a sticking point for our emotions, right? And because of the disappointment, fear, like things that should have never happened to me. Also, and sometimes we don't feel like I can deal with the emotion that it brings up, so I just suppress it, right? So the heart becomes unhealthy. Then so the energy and things that are supposed to flow, you can't, because it's blocking. Right? And so you're tired. You can't think clearly and all these things. So it is critical to work on opening that heart, experiencing that emotion, because at the end of the day, it's not going to kill you, right? It may be uncomfortable, but it needs to move through so something else new can come in with it. And that's what I hear you saying, is you got a realization around the importance of rest, right? And you know, what Reiki does is put people in a deep state of relaxation. when they're in that deep state of relaxation, their body heals itself. So it is critical to rest, right? And versus our socialization that said, no, you ain't got time to rest. I remember, I can't tell you how many times my family I heard, what you mean you want to be happy when you grow up? That ain't how this thing works. You just do what you got to do. Right? And I carried that. I never even thought I could have the life that I dream of. So that's what I want to kind of bring to. I want to come to, because I know we're going to have you back, because there's so much that you opened up. And I love your energy and what you're sharing. But the life that you dream of, the willingness, the courage to, one, just be in honest reflection of that, right? And then being in action to support that happening, right? How did you do that? Tell us a little bit about that, right? Did somebody tell you one day? Did you read it in a book? Did you see other people doing it? You're like, I want that too. I mean,
you know what? I honestly didn't know. Honestly, I believe that gifts never die. When somebody doesn't do something or doesn't fully live within their purpose, I feel like that never dies. It always passes on. And I think that's something that happened within my family. I come from a long line of writers, and I had no idea how talented they were. And it may sound crazy, but I remember receiving a letter from jail from my uncle. And as I was reading it, I'm like, this isn't just a regular letter. This is poetry. Like, this is beautiful. And I remember being so emotional after reading that, because I'm like, wow, I think about how many people in my family were, amazing writers, speakers, who never really got to do that because they were in that survival mode. And here I am going into that. And now I feel like it is not just my gift, it's my mission to go forth and do some of those things that they never thought could be done, or didn't didn't think could be done, but just didn't pursue because of life. And so I made a vow to myself to not do that. I'm at a point now where I'm learning that one of the things that is really going to propel me forward is discipline and consistency. And so those are two things.
Clip that, John.
Hello. Yeah. Discipline and consistency. And those are two things that I'm working on. And it's funny because for so long I've been able to be inconsistent and still flourish in areas. And I'm like, imagine me really putting myself fully into this, really taking the time to organize this. And imagine if I could do this on just a whim, okay, I'm gonna write this, put this out, and this is what happens. Imagine me really being intentional about it. And I'm just like, the sky it's beyond the sky. Right. And so that's where I'm at now, really learning to discipline myself in a way that allows me to really experience the fullness of everything that God has for me.
And that was your first book was Shoot for the Sky, is that right?
Same Sky.
Same Sky, yeah. So the sky is powerful. Thank you for sharing that, right? It's inspiring, and just the awareness that goes along with it. And it's available to everybody, right? Our parents and the parents' generation did what they had to do, and they didn't think they had the privilege of being happy, right? You don't necessarily go to work because you enjoy it. You go because we need to eat, right? We need some shoes or whatever. And so, and that was passed out, right? And so this whole monetary gain versus, and I've been having a self-reflection discussion with my wife. What is it that I'm good at? Right. What do I like to do? And then what's the income? What's the lifestyle that I need to support that? Right. And then really being honest versus settling. I got these skills. I can do this, and really that's how I approached it. So I think it's really beautiful to hear you say, hey, I know I'm talented. I experienced it at 9 years old, and then I had continued reinforcements of that. And there's no feeling. You really can't explain to a person what it feels like to know that you gave it your all. Yeah. Right. And I shortcutted myself for so many decades because I had more talent. It seemed like my little bit was a whole lot, right? Yeah. I could get by and people wouldn't notice it, but I knew it and looking in the mirror. So I feel from you emanating from within this whole like experiencing yourself, giving it your all. You talked about hustling the books and the things of first year and you were in the studio this morning, not this morning, the hour before we're on the show, you get ready to do another set after this show, like, yeah. And so is it demanding of your time and energy? Yeah, but you seem quite fulfilled.
I am. It makes me so happy. But like I say, balancing work life with the life that you want to make a living off of entirely, you have to go through that process. And right now I'm in my process and I'm being processed for real. And so, but I think that's something that brings me joy. It's just now I'll live by that quote by Steve Harvey. He says that your gift is the thing that you do the best with the least amount of effort. And so I ask myself that a lot. What do you do the best with the least amount of effort? I'm like, speak. Right? I can come up with some stuff in a minute. And so I'm like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I knew it. And so now I'm just trying to elevate it and just purge myself so that I could really, really just like I said, experience the fullness of it all. So this really does bring me joy. It does bring me excitement, but it does get exhausting sometimes. I'm not going to lie, like, oh, I'm just ready to write all the time and I'm just ready. No, I'm not. Sometimes I just want to go to sleep.
Right.
But I know that, like I said, this is not just my gift. This is a mission. So,
there's a scripture that says your gift will make room for you.
Oh, yes.
Right. Now, we get to choose to believe if that applies to us or not, right? I choose to believe it, even though for many years I didn't. And so I just want to encourage you to keep choosing, right? And even if sometimes you make a choice that's not in alignment with that, you can always make another choice right after that. Right. And so I'm really excited. Thank you so much for being on the show. If anybody in the chat has any comments or questions that they want to put in, go ahead and do so. I'd like to give you a second to do that. But Sabreen, I'm so excited. Like, ooh, I feel blessed, right? I'm speaking to myself as well as the audience and you in all of this whole conversation. God knew exactly what I needed. And so this is when it was supposed to happen. So thank you for being a yes, right? Thank you for being a yes. Shout out to Milk for introducing us, right?
Oh, yes.
Milk, Bennett, he was a guest on ALLVERSE Thursdays when it was a radio show 6 years ago, right? Before we upgraded it in 2020. And so he's been a big supporter. I'm really proud of him and all the things that he's doing in Atlanta. You still live in Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to give the audience an opportunity to, first of all, let me put your contact information up. So if you aren't following her or haven't started following her since you listened to this piece, her email as well as her social media information is below, scrolling across the bottom. But talk about any upcoming projects. I mean, we know you're going to the residency, but do you have any upcoming projects that you're doing and you want to tell the people about? Be generous with your share as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, as for the residency, hopefully everything works out with this corona and that it doesn't get postponed. But also this weekend, I am getting ready to record my 8th poetry video since September. So it's been a lot of great things happening with that. I'll also be in Dallas next weekend for the Women of the World Poetry Slam. And so please pray for me because your girl has been tired. Yes. And so I'll also be doing some work with some of the members of VIP, which is a poetry collective. Milk is a part of that as well. We'll be doing something on tomorrow on Clubhouse. This is my first time really using
Yeah, She Farrell was on a couple of weeks ago. She's in the VIP too.
Yes. And so I'll be doing some work with them on tomorrow. And so I'm super excited about all the little ventures I have going on. And hopefully after all of that, I can go to sleep.
Yeah, speaking of Milk, there he is right there. Shout out to Milk, my man. The Nielsen says we have your back.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Being and doing it.
I love it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We need it because the more people that hear that and see that, and that's what the purpose of the show is to share those kind of messages, then maybe they can take a chance to say, well, maybe I can believe it too.
Yes, most definitely.
Right. And it's sometimes it's about awareness, right? Hearing something you hadn't heard before. It presented in a way, like Wow, what a testimony. God opens doors, you step in them. But my man, Norris G, out of Atlanta, he's a singer. He says, you know, I showed up. I said, Norris, how was the concert? He said, I showed up and God showed out, right? And it stuck with me. This was like 15 years ago he told me that. And so, you know, I'll text him when he's doing the performance. I say, did you show up? And he'll text back, and he showed out, right? So keep showing up, right?
Yeah.
And God, he, she, whatever you choose to call God, God through you, right? Like
Yes.
if you believe in the creation story, we are created, right, by God in the image of God.
Absolutely.
Which makes us offsprings of God. So no, I'm not preaching today, but I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
Keep being your God self. Keep being your God self because it's needed. And like people need to hear it.
Most definitely.
Right? Because so many of us just don't hear it.
Yeah.
We just don't hear it. And so do you have the residency? Is that for the children's book? Is that the
so the residency? So that's what I plan on working on during the residency. The guy that I'm going with, he's an illustrator, and so we may be collaborating if I don't end up collaborating with someone else. But that's the time that I plan to not just write it because the writing process has already began, but just to really dig a little bit deeper. I would say when you're really trying to make writing a lifestyle, especially with novel writing, children's books, and getting it out into these big publishing houses, it can be a long journey. It can be, you know, kind of strenuous. And so I am trying to take full advantage of any time that I get to just write and just breathe and just think. And so, yeah.
Well, you're perfectly suited. You're perfectly suited for it. You're perfectly suited for it. You know, you've been prepared for this moment, whatever this next moment is, all up until now, right? And so you got this, right? Even if you don't know how, you got it, right? Because we talked about God is your source. So before we close, and this has been a wonderful show. I told you the time was going to go fast, right? Before we close, I want to give the audience a chance to hear one more. Let's do a collaboration.
Okay.
Okay. So the way this is going to work, audience, is that Sabreen's going to lead us off. She's not going to introduce the piece. She's going to go right into it. And when she finishes with that, she'll say that's that piece, and then I'll go in, and then I'll close the show out, right? And then Sabreen, if you can, just hold on after we come off broadcast. I just want to spend a few minutes with you. Now, with that being said, folks that's out there, you know, NEA Center, right? The NEA Center brings you ALLVERSE Thursdays every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Sundays, every other Sunday, we bring you Sacred Space Sunday. The next is 4/1, April Fool's Day, huh? Go figure. We lead interfaith conversations, right? And we welcome people of all traditions. We're not looking to convince you or convert you, really just to share, right? And with the formula of insight plus application equals results. And so we give every show, we give you an application, a tip that you can put into action right now and create some results in your life, regardless of what your traditional faith is. So tune in every other Sunday here on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube as well, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that being said, if you have somebody that comes to your mind or came to your mind in this show, just type their name in the chat. We want to send blessings of oneness, love, and joy, right? Folks that maybe physically or mentally could use support. Just a kind thought, right? If anybody's names come to you, feel free to put their names in the chat. And when we close the show, we'll acknowledge them in our closing. So now, thank you so much, Sabreen. So let's go ahead and close this thing like champs.
I wish I could just breathe sometimes. I wish I wasn't scared to smoke trees sometimes, but I'm scared how they manipulate weed sometimes. A dime is enough to plead to give it us free sometimes. I wish the world would wake up and see how free ain't an option. We'd be stopping ourselves if only we knew the power of neuroplasticity and how repeating things again and again and again and again bring life like that night. I wish he'd bite. Don't he know that's the shit I like? I wish I didn't have to explain that the freak in me and the queen exist simultaneously. It's called balance. I wish I could sip from my chalice during work when work ain't working. I wish we'd value grace over twerking, even though the 99 and 2000s have taken over me for certain. It's certain things for the world and certain things behind curtains. I wish we stop using things like slut shame, because I never knew that there was an honor in being a slut slut, but what do you expect when respect can be replaced with a buck? Sometimes I wish this cancel culture would shut the fuck up. Sometimes I wish I could go where I've never been, see what I never saw, do what I never did, or I wish I'd receive the love that I give. Sometimes I wish poetry was as simple as this. Sometimes I wish he'd fly east to see me. Sometimes, I mean, it's worth it since I blew his mind last time, right? Sometimes I'm not as good to myself as I should be, but I expect it from you, damn. So when you don't pay me attention, I can't point my finger to you. Hey, Slim, you should drop that narcissism sometimes. You take that self-loathing stuff way too far. I mean, I thought it was confidence in the beginning, but now I realize you only do it because you're insecure sometimes, and I accept it sometimes. So what does that say about me sometimes? You got me wishing I didn't have to uphold this crown sometimes. Like, nigga, you really don't know what I'm about sometimes. I could really call those people down south sometimes and have them air this bitch out one time. But see, while y'all faking like duality can't exist among royalty, I'm the perfect example of how it does, of how we queens can go from sunshine to gun smoke, from fine wine to Newport. Sometimes I'm as bright as the sun or as dimming as the moonlight, but I shine either way. Sometimes I just have to write the things I can't say regardless of how they come out. I'm healing and sharing my soul with the world. Carry her lightly, because I might need her back sometime.
That's that piece.
That's that piece.
I see you standing over there, looking a bit nervous, steady playing with your hair. Yeah, I see you walking through the park, talking to the air. It's daytime outside, but you think it's dark. I see you slumping in your seat, thinking they don't care. The burdens you carry, the feeling of defeat. I see you with that hole in your soul. Now, let me handle it, for only I can make you whole. Every time I go to type love, the word live comes up. Every time I go to type love, I type live. Maybe I need love to live. Maybe to really live, I need love. The kind of love that wakes up early before the sunrise. The kind of love that takes joy in making a surprise. The kind of love that always understands. The kind of love that turns a boy into a grown man. The kind of love that's plain to see. The kind of love that celebrates and despises envy. The kind of love that will carry me through. The kind of love that God promised to me and to you. This must be love, real love. I'm talking real love. That's that piece. Sabreen, it's been an honor and a joy to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Before we close it, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, any last remarks for our audience? We did a few minutes over, but go ahead.
Thank you guys so much. You can follow me on all platforms at Sabreen Speaks. And again, thank you to my brother Milk for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to extending it to someone else.
Yeah. Speaking of mothers, shout out to Victoria Christmas. That's my mom.
Hey,
Mom. Right, my mom. So I owe it all to her, man. She did the best she could with a little hard-haired boy in Chicago on the South Side. Yeah. Thank you. So blessings of oneness and joy. And as we close this, I just want to say thank you again, Sabreen. You've been awesome. It's been a pleasure and a joy to interact with you each and every moment that I have, whether it's been a text, a phone call, tonight on the show. And I'm really looking forward to continue to be a support. So count Nia as yes, count the Nia Center as yes, and anything we can do to support you. You can use our platform to share what you're up to, let folks know you got a story, that a message, a gift that's making room for you. And so I'll say that love never gives up.
Yes.
It never loses faith.
Yeah.
It's always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. 3 things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love, according to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 7 through 13. So the prayer as I close, I say, dear love, I call on you today to guide my way. I need your wisdom and strength to battle uncertainty and discouragement. I need to know that you are a conqueror over all things, that the battle is not mine, it's yours. I believe that you want the best for me, and all things work together for them that love you. Let me be the love that you would have me to be. Let your love shine bright in my actions, in my thoughts, and in my speech. Thank you for your everlasting love that established the heavens and the earth and will stand the test of time. Thank you. And in your name we pray. Amen. And so it is. Ashe.
Yes, I love
Sacred Space Sunday, next Sunday, 4/1, next Thursday, ALLVERSE Thursday, 8 p.m. Let me just put up my guest. Thank you so much to our guest tonight, Sabreen. Sabreen, it was awesome. We're excited. Right? What a pleasure to have you tonight. I'm so pumped up, if you can't tell.
Thank you.
So energized. Your energy is giving life to this show, and to certainly to the ears that heard it. I'm sure that it's doing the same as well. Now, with that being said, thank you, audience. Until next time, peace, oneness, love, and joy. All right.